The ink wasn't even dry on my late husband's business restructuring when my daughter-in-law cornered me in my own dining room. She placed a real estate catalog on the table, leaned in with a cold, predatory smirk, and said, "We're ready for our inheritance now, so let's talk about moving you out." Everyone in the family assumed I was just a naive widow who would fold under pressure and hand over the family portfolio to keep the peace. My lawyer even warned me that they were preparing to freeze my accounts. Instead of crying or begging, I looked her straight in the eyes, smiled, and signed every single document they shoved in my face. What she didn't know was that my signature didn't transfer a fortune. It activated a legal trap that turned their greed into an inescapable financial disaster. Welcome to BT Revenge Tales. Make sure to subscribe and comment where you're watching from. My name is Claire Vance. At 36 years old, I had spent the last 8 years building a life alongside my late husband, Arthur, transforming his boutique logistics firm into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. When Arthur passed away 6 months ago from sudden cardiac arrest, the grief nearly shattered me, but duty kept me standing. That evening, my stepson Tyler, who was barely 5 years younger than me, arrived at the estate for what I thought was a quiet family dinner. Instead, he brought along his wife, Vanessa, a woman whose hunger for status was as sharp as her designer stilettos. Before the main course was even served, Vanessa dropped an oversized leather binder onto the mahogany table. Her painted lips curled into a rehearsed, condescending smirk as she looked around my dining room. "Let's cut the pleasantries, Claire," Vanessa declared, her voice laced with venomous entitlement. Arthur worked his entire life for this legacy, and bloodline matters. Tyler and I are ready to take over our rightful inheritance now, so it's time we discuss your exit timeline from this house and the firm. I lowered my fork slowly, forcing my hands to tremble just enough to sell the illusion. I took a shallow, shaky breath and looked down at the table, letting a mask of utter defeat wash over my features. Tyler shifted in his chair, visibly uneasy, but Vanessa leaned in closer, savoring what she believed was total surrender. She slid a single document toward me, a drafted settlement demanding I surrender my executive voting rights and vacate Arthur's home within 60 days. "It's for the best, Claire," Vanessa pressed, her tone slick with patronizing pity. "You aren't equipped to handle this empire alone." I looked up with welling eyes, clutching a napkin as if holding on for dear life. "I never wanted to cause division," I whispered softly, my voice breaking on cue. "If you truly believe Arthur wanted this, I will review everything and sign the handover at a formal meeting on Friday." Vanessa smiled victoriously, entirely unaware that she had just handed me the time I needed. The moment their luxury sedan pulled out of my driveway, the submissive widow vanished. I spent the entire night locked in Arthur's private study, digging into every financial ledger, corporate bank statement, and digital trail I could access. What I uncovered was jaw-dropping. Tyler and Vanessa hadn't just been waiting for an inheritance, they were suffocating under catastrophic secret debts. Over the past year, they had secured over $2 million in high-interest loans from predatory private lenders to finance their private jet rentals, luxury sports cars, and lavish socialite lifestyle, using their expected future inheritance as informal collateral. Worse, Vanessa had quietly established an offshore entity, attempting to reroute our firm's prime shipping contracts into her private control. At dawn, I met with my trusted estate attorney, Nathan. His sharp eyes scanned the forensic audit before a grim smile crossed his face. Arthur had anticipated this exact betrayal months before his passing and had embedded a conditional indemnity structure into the family trust. With Nathan's help, we drafted a master transfer document that gave them every commercial asset they demanded, along with every buried liability attached. Friday morning arrived, and Nathan's glass-walled conference room felt like an arena. Vanessa marched in looking like a runway model holding court, dressed in head-to-toe designer labels, while Tyler trailed behind her like a nervous lieutenant. She tossed her sunglasses onto the table and leaned forward with triumphant arrogance. "Let's make this quick, Claire. We have a celebratory luncheon at 1. Nathan placed a thick, leather-bound folder before them, titled Comprehensive Commercial Asset and Entity Transfer. My hands were steady, my expression serene. As you requested, Vanessa, I said evenly. This document transfers complete operational control and 100% equity of Arthur's commercial holdings directly to you and Tyler. Vanessa's eyes glittered with ravenous greed. She grabbed the platinum pen from Tyler's hand and thrust the papers toward him. Sign it, Tyler. Right now. Tyler hesitated for a second, glancing nervously at the stack of dense legal writer pages at the back. Should our lawyer look over the annexes first? He mumbled. Don't be an idiot, Vanessa snapped, cutting him off sharply. She's giving us the entire company. With a trembling hand, Tyler signed the final line. The second the ink dried, Nathan stamped the document and uploaded the digital filing directly to the county registry. The room fell into an icy, suffocating silence. Vanessa leaned back, beaming like a queen who had just won a kingdom. Thank you for being sensible, Claire, she sneered, gathering her designer purse. We'll send movers for your belongings on Monday. Nathan quietly cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. Before you leave, Mrs. Vance, you should examine page 42 of the indemnification addendum. Vanessa frowned, pausing. What are you talking about? Nathan spoke with cold, razor-sharp precision. By executing this transfer, you and Tyler have assumed full personal liability for the $6 million in corporate bond debt tied to those commercial fleets, debt Arthur structured specifically to attach to whoever claimed operational equity. The color instantly drained from Vanessa's face. What? She gasped, her voice cracking. Furthermore, Nathan continued, Claire retains 100% of Arthur's private liquid trust, amounting to $12 million, along with unencumbered deed ownership of the family residential estate. You didn't win an empire today, Vanessa. You signed away your protection and inherited pure financial ruin. The fallout was swift and catastrophic. Within 72 hours of the transfer being registered, institutional creditors and private lenders descended upon Tyler and Vanessa like a pack of wolves. Without my personal capital guaranteeing the corporate loans, the banks immediately triggered acceleration clauses, demanding full repayment of the overdue millions. Their flashy leased sports cars were repossessed straight from their gated driveway, while curious neighbors watched. The private lenders Tyler had foolishly borrowed from placed immediate liens on every asset they possessed, freezing their personal accounts. Vanessa burst into my office 2 weeks later, her expensive facade completely shattered, streaks of mascara running down her pale face as she begged me to inject cash into the holding company to save them from total bankruptcy. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gloat. I simply motioned to building security and handed her a copy of the formal no-contact injunction Nathan had prepared. Greed had led them into the trap, and I was under no obligation to set them free. Free from their toxic presence, I rebuilt the logistics firm into a thriving, completely debt-free venture. Arthur's legacy was finally safe in hands that truly respected his hard work. Entitlement has a peculiar way of blinding people to the traps they dig with their own greed, and Vanessa learned that lesson the hardest way possible. What would you have done if your family tried to push you out like that? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to check out the 2 videos on your screen right now for more gripping stories. Thanks for watching.